I want to talk about a little bit of Tanner McKee, Johnny Mac, and not for the reasons that people think I want to talk. Think we'll speculate of why I want to talk about him. I do think they're in an interesting spot with Tanner McKee. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's a backup quarterback, and there is a lot of quarterback needy teams around the league. Do you think the Eagles will look to trade Tanner and rely on either Sam Howell or Kyle McCord, who I don't think is ready to be the backup, but maybe Sam Howell is? Will they look to trade Tanner McKee? What do you think that market looks like? Our buddy Benjamin Solak was on ESPN talking about he could see them flipping Tanner McKee to a team like Miami for a mid-round pick, something like that. Do you think that's likely or could happen this offseason? And if not, I don't think it'll be an extension for Tanner McKee to be the backup. Will they just go into kind of his lame duck year and let him walk after next season? How do you see the Tanner McKee stuff playing out this summer?
Yeah, he'll be back and he'll be the backup. Kyle McCord's not even here anymore. He's in Green Bay.
No, he was here through the end of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
All right, so he left now. Sorry, guys.
He was on the practice squad. So you have to sign those guys to futures contracts, which you can, but he went in a different direction and went to Green Bay. So he's gone. Sam Howell's a free agent. So, he's not – I don't expect him to be back. Tanner will be the backup. They got 1 more year, cost-effective backup. They like him. I don't think, his Week 18 game this year helped him. I don't think anybody's going to go into a season saying, hey, we're going to lean on Tanner McKee.
He dropped him in with all backups.
Well, look, I know people want to pump him up and get a second-round pick for him or whatever. You ain't getting a second-round pick for Tanner McKee. But understand these quarterback-needy teams, they have to sell their quarterback to their fan base. You can't sell Tanner McKee as a starting quarterback.
Oh, sure you can. You just get some fringe Eagle fans to represent him. They'll gas him up.
You're going to see some of these. Now, it'll be if they do trade him, which they don't have a backup, so I don't see any way they're going to trade him. It would be for a day 3 pick, number 1. So, maybe he can get a 4 with conditional if he plays to get a 3, maybe something like that. But why would they trade him? They don't have a backup quarterback if they trade him. And that's a position they value and they like him. And they don't want to spend a lot for the back. If you have to go out and replace him, because remember, if you trade him, you got to replace him. And then if you got to go with a veteran, those guys are pretty expensive. The veteran backup quarterbacks,
$7 million. Yeah, they're not cheap.
So no, I think he'll be back and he'll play out. And I don't consider guys playing out their rookie deals lame ducks. I mean, that's not like a coach or anything. I mean, it's the end of his rookie deal, and he'll go into free agency, and if people think he has a chance to compete, maybe somebody gives him a nice little deal and you got to move on. But they got 1 more year of it, and I think they're going to take advantage of it.
How well do you think Tanner fits with the new offense and what they're trying to build there? Now, I've always been interested by how different the quarterback styles are in Philly. Like you used to see, and this is just one example, but when Snoop Huntley was the backup for Lamar, it's like, okay, yeah, they play the same style of ball, The Eagles is like they have Jalen Hurts on one hand, and then their backup quarterback is always nothing like Jalen Hurts, which I find to be a little interesting.
Yeah, well, there's 2 ways to think about it. You try to get somebody similar traits-wise, and then you don't have to change the offense that much. I think the Eagles have always been secretly happy if they have to change the offense a little bit, at least from the standpoint of being rejuvenated. And maybe that's wrong. People take that the wrong way, but they take it as a nice little challenge. So I don't think there's one way of doing it or that's correct or the otherwise. But in theory, he'll
Doesn't
get
that make it harder on the players though? Like just in theory, you lose last year. They lost not the past season, 2 seasons ago. They lost Jalen in the second Commander game after I don't know what it was, 10 plays or something. instead of just continuing with the game plan or continuing with the modified version of the game plan, but playing the same offense, new quarterback comes in, it's like a completely different looking game. Does that mess
Well,
up?
yeah, but I mean, do you want
concentration?
do you want a completely shitty quarterback just because he's athletic and he
Yeah,
can't
no.
do anything, or do you want somebody who can at least run to an offense to an acceptable level? So it's not easy to find guys who can duplicate what Jalen Hurts can do. It's easier to find guys who can do what Tanner McKee does. It's one of the reasons we talk about why isn't he so high on top 10 list? Why does everybody disrespect Jalen Hurts? Yada yada yada. Well, execs know it's easier to find a different style of quarterback. So that plays a factor into it. But with Tanner, yeah, I mean, in theory, again, this is all theory. He hasn't played enough. In theory, the ball comes out quicker. There's more anticipation. In theory, he would be more of a fit for this offense. But it's all theory. There's no people have really pumped up Tanner McKee in their minds. I blame Pumper for that. The guy's thrown 88 passes in the
Pump, holy moly, you're getting some credit this morning, Pump. I think Pump would wear that as a badge of honor.
There's thrown, at least in this chat, he's thrown 88 passes in the NFL. He's got 2 starts. He's played, good in one half, and then sort of just and 3, the other 6 quarters. But I think he's a good backup. Can you win a game or two if you lose your starter for a couple weeks for a sprained ankle? Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, me too. I like Tanner.
And that's all you want from a backup quarterback.
I think Tanner's better than people. I think people have now gone the other way on Tanner because of week 18. They lined him up with a bunch of.
Well, it's hard. You're right.
I mean, seriously though, Jalen Hurts is one of the better quarterbacks in football and a very successful quarterback. If Jalen Hurts rolled out there with the entire set of backups, what would everybody's expectation be? I don't think it'd be that good, John. And I don't think it have anything to do with Jalen.
I say it all the time. He's not going to be playing with any backups. Not going to be playing with the backups. They're going to be playing, if they're forced to play, with the starters. But it works both ways. In week 18 the year prior, everybody's like, this guy's going to get a 2nd round pick. And I said, well, pump the brakes. It's not. So it works both ways. Yes, he shouldn't be criticized that dramatically for not looking that great last year. But the year prior, these people shouldn't have pumped him up like he was going to get to some city and they're going to dub Tanner McKee their starting quarterback. It works both ways. So he is what he is. He's a good backup quarterback. And the Eagles have one more year at a cost-effective rate, and I think they're going to take advantage of it.
What do you think it would take for Howie to move him?
2nd round pick.
2nd rounder? Okay, that's high. I don't think
Howie wants that's the joke around the league. Hey, buddy, 2nd round pick.
Yeah, right. Right.
If there is some lunatic team out, and by the way, there's some.
But the 3rd, get it done. If somebody calls, I'll give you Howie. I'm not giving you a 2. I'm giving you a 3, dude.
I don't think a 3rd gets it done because they don't have a backup. And if they have to go get a backup, they're going to have to spend money.
It gives Howie a nice excuse to draft a quarterback early.
Nice. Well, that's another thing. If they if they draft a quarterback, that changes everything. And
I'm saying they might care about the optics of drafting a quarterback. We'll trade him McKee, make that easier.
Well, you're not going to trade them until after you get a quarterback. They're not going to go in and say we're drafting a quarterback.
The big draft night trade, everybody. The draft night trade this year. A couple years ago, it was for AJ Brown. Now it's for the guy getting rid of Tanner McKee. Oh wow!
Look, if there's some bad team, bad organization, and wants to give up a second-round pick, I think he'd do that in a second. But other than that, I think they value that he's cost effective and he's a good backup. Why would you get rid of him? I think that's the mentality.
Yeah, I agree with you. Here's Pump checking in, the leader of the Tannerites. Pump says, provide some damn context, J-Mac. Tanner was throwing to Britton, effing Covey, and Grant Calcaterra. What the F is going on here? Hurts is the Avengers.
What? It's funny. The guy who offers all the context. What was your context a year prior when you're throwing the backups and you look good, and you turned him into a starting quarterback in the NFL? Works both ways.
Come on, Pump. Johnny Mac just took you to the woodshed. Not your buddy guy checks in. What's up, brother? Appreciate your comment. If you meant to put a comment on this super chat, just drop it down below. You don't have to super chat it again, and I'll answer your comment. Thanks for the $5, brother. Appreciate it. That's not your buddy guy. I think that's how you say that. Good name there. All right, so Tanner McKee will be back, John. That's what you think?
Yeah.
I was hoping maybe we'd pick up a nice second or third rounder for Tanner.
Goodness. If you're getting, well, they won't move him if you can get a second rounder. I look, there's a lot of like, which team are you looking at? Nobody's bringing him in to be a starter.
All right, here's my question. If you're the Raiders, would you rather draft Fernando Mendoza #1, or would you rather
come on
trade a third for?
Look, I'm not even a Mendoza fan, but come on.
You've been criticizing Mendoza. Now you're going to use the #1 overall pick on him?
No, I'm not, but they are.
All right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's not that. When I say teams talk about everybody, yeah, and Las Vegas obviously, has 2 Eagles executives, Anthony Patch and Brandon Hunt.
That's right. Yeah.
You
telling me Anthony Patch doesn't know the greatness of Tanner McKee?
Yeah, he knows they're going to lose their jobs really quickly if they pass over Fernando Mendoza for Tanner McKee.
Maybe Tom Brady's.
But I would not take Fernando Mendoza #1. But I would not. I would.
Tanner's worth a first-round pick. If you don't like the #1 overall.
Well, pick, if my option is, and I don't even like this option, believe me. And my option, because you understand, especially in a place like Las Vegas, you probably have a 2 or a 3 year window. And that window actually increases if you draft a kid #1, because you could at least say, well, he needs time to develop. Even if it goes pretty shitty, you'll get a couple years out of it. If you go into that situation and go, I'm going to pass on Fernando Mendoza and I'm going to go with Tanner McKee as my starting quarterback and draft.
Oh, that's a bad look.
That is a quick.
Boy, you might get fired before the season starts.
You better be right. You better be right.
Oh man, that's funny.
Because and who I'm trying to think who would be the #1 overall pick if you don't take the quarterback. And it's not a great draft. There's nobody that you say, wow, I'm taking that guy. So of course the Raiders, bad luck. Ruben Bain I'd love, but he's got some traits issues.
Yeah. Try not to buy too much into that, the short arm thing. But
but you're not taking him #1.
No, but he's going to be. I think he'll be a top 5, top 7 pick, probably top 8.
Arvell Reese is a lot of David Bailey's, Caleb Downs. I can't imagine. I think Jeremiah Love's the best player in the draft, but you're not taking a running back #1.
No. Caleb Downs, he'll be a top 10 pick.
Carnell Tate, you're not taking a receiver. It's all Ohio State guys. Sonny
you think the Eagles could try and trade up here? Get a game changer.
Hey man, Howie always trades up. So yeah, in recent years he targets players and goes up to get them.
Yeah, I just wonder what the max would be. Even last year, they thought about they tried to trade up as it was reported. They drafted Jihad at 31, I believe, but they or 30.
Yeah, they tried to get up to 22 first.
Yeah, which is pretty significant. So I wonder if this year they're at 23. Do they try and get to 14, 15 or somewhere in there maybe?
If somebody they love starts falling past where they think he's going to go, they will go up and get him.
Yeah. Here's a not your buddy guy with the $5 super chat that he didn't put the comment on. Not your buddy. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I called you buddy, even though you're telling me in your name you're not my buddy. That's fair. Are they willing to eat the 20.5 in dead cap with Dallas moving on? If so, what do you think of a trade for Kmet?
Yeah, I mean, trade market's a big part of it that nobody thinks of. Good player. I like Kmet, and they have a lot of tight ends in Chicago. Yeah, he'd be I don't know how old he is. He's been I'm gonna look. That's a big part of it. It's interesting because he's a Notre Dame guy. Notre Dame, boy, they generate some tight ends, man. Whew. It's like tight end you. He's only 26. He'd be the kind of guy the Eagles would want to target. And I don't know why Chicago would want to get rid of him other than, like I said, they have a bunch of good tight ends.
Yeah, they did use Kmet though this year. I mean, he liked Kmet, Caleb.
Yeah, he's a good player. And I think he'd be a good fit. Michael Mayer is the one, for the same reason. I don't know why the Raiders would want to get rid of him. Another Notre Dame guy. But a lot of people have speculated on him, the Philly. But yeah, they got to find a tight end, and he's a good player. I would have no issues with, and he's a good blocker too, at least in the modern game. He's more of a two-way tight end who can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a good player.
Baked Bisquick says we're getting likely. Let's see. I brought up likely a little earlier in the show. Here's Flexing and Stepping. J-Mac laying the smackdown on Pump with a Timu $1.99 super. Our first Timu super of the
I always love people. Yeah, and he doesn't. Tanner McKee doesn't. You shouldn't shit on him because he is playing with a bunch of backups, but you shouldn't talk him up like he's a superstar when he's playing with a bunch of backups the year prior and against a bunch of backups. That's my only point. And where does that at any level make sense?
Well, do they need as much of a blocking tight end now with the new offense?
Good question. But I would think yes, because if you look at I mean, they have to improve where they were. If you look at
regardless, you're saying regardless of what offense you run, last year wasn't good enough.
No, yeah. I mean, it was a really bad year from a blocking perspective for the tight ends. Now you expect that from Calcaterra. You don't expect that from Dallas Goedert.
Flex, thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate everybody being here this morning. All right, good show so far. Couple good segments, 3 good segments so far. We got one here to wrap it up as well, and we will talk about that. We are going to talk about the receivers. We brought it up a little earlier. I don't just want to keep this on A.J. Brown, though, John, for our final segment here. Maybe a little bit more than our final segment. We got some more to go. We got about 36 minutes to play here on Birds 365. I don't just want to keep it focused all on AJ. I know AJ's the number one domino, so we will include him in this conversation. But considering the potential change of the offense, John, you got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith. Jahan Dotson's going to be a free agent, I believe. So do they try and potentially bring him back? I don't know. What do you kind of see as the future of this wide receiver